What is up and welcome back. We are your Emerald Coast relocation team, and we have a good percentage of you who are relocating from California into the Emerald Coast. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to be comparing some stark differences between the two areas.
All right, let's go.
If this is your first time watching, Pete and Chelsea Sweeney here, and what we like to do is expose you to everything in regards to the Emerald Coast. We're talking pretty much Destin all the way over into Pensacola. So if you are looking at purchasing real estate here in the Emerald Coast, give us a call or text that phone number right below. Right below right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time.
And if you're not quite ready to give us a call, no worries. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and also that notification bell so you get notified every single time that a new video comes out.
Before we dive into that first comparison, there's an obvious one why we are seeing so many of you who are relocating into the Emerald Coast from California. You are going to have to stick around to the end of the video. It might be a little bit controversial as well too. We like to do that a lot where it's like, we're just going to throw it out there. Take it as you will. Some of you might get pissed off. Some of you might be cheering for us. I don't really know. Stick around to that fifth one so you can find out what that controversial topic is. But the first one we're going to be talking about is the cost of living, which is a pretty obvious one when we're comparing California to even like Florida as a whole.
I think it's awesome to kind of see this not from just California to Florida, but breaking down some of the major cities. So therefore, Peter and I had to bring our notepad out because we pulled all of the numbers for you. The first thing starting with overall comparing these cities. So we took San Diego, LA, San Francisco, Pensacola, and then Florida. So you can kind of get an idea with all of them, which is why we have to refer to our notebook for you, as we pulled a lot together so you can kind of see the trend in the differences.
And you might be asking yourself, why did you guys choose Pensacola? It is the largest city that we're talking about in regards to the Emerald Coast area that we do cover. And so we want to make sure that we compare something a little bit similar, even though it has nowhere near the size of these other three cities. We want to throw Pensacola in there to give you kind of a good basis of what you're looking at.
All right, so let's go ahead and start with the first city, and that is going to be San Diego. The overall cost of living is $160.4. So just remember how we do cost of living is we use the index where 100 is going to be your national average. Anything above it's going to be more expensive, and anything less than that is going to be less expensive. So 160.4. When you go over to LA, 176.2, so more expensive than San Diego. You go over to San Fran, 244. Like, oh my gosh, we're getting up there for sure when it comes to overall over in San Francisco. You come to Pensacola, you're going to be looking at 87.2. So this is a dramatic reason a lot of people are moving from California, say to the Emerald Coast, Pensacola being one of the larger cities. But even if you look at Florida, overall it's going to be 103.1. So still, all of Florida combined into one is still going to be significantly lower than these California cities.
And this is a brain science, guys. Everyone knows that California is an expensive state, especially when we are talking about a few of these cities. And you might think, that's a big reason why people are relocating from California into Florida. That's not necessarily what we are seeing, but it is nice to know, say, hey, I'm spending this much money over in California. I could save a buck and get a larger house or even more bang for my buck down in Florida.
The other thing that we did is we tried to take some of the main four categories. There's a lot of things that goes into this cost of living index. When we use bestliving.net, there's a lot of different things that are put into this. We took four major categories. We just talked about overall. The next thing we're going to be talking about is groceries. Peter's going to take us into some housing, and then we're going to talk about miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is going to be, your shopping, your restaurants, your outing, any of the things that are going to be, kind of more of the luxury things or more fun things.
All the extracurricular stuff, right? Because everyone likes to go eat out, everyone likes to go shopping, so it's always important that we do cover that miscellaneous. That way you have a broad idea of all right, cool, am I going to be paying less or more in regards to my clothing, am I just going out and eating and all that stuff, all the activities in the area, so that's why we like to cover that miscellaneous.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into the groceries. So groceries in San Diego is 109.7. You go over to LA, it's going to be 104.2. So again, these aren't significantly over, and this is one category that we don't see a ton of variation, but we still get to use it as a trend. You go over to San Francisco, it's gonna be 116.6, so still trending to be the highest city.
I think that's probably the most expensive groceries we've ever heard of.
I think so
116,
too.
That's pretty high.
That's really high. I think we've gotten close to the teens, but we never actually got there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Pensacola is 96.6, so below national average, and then Florida as a whole 102.8, so barely above national average, and also also still cheaper than any of the California cities.
And one quick note on that as well too, what we have noticed is like when we're talking about Pensacola, we're talking about the mainland of Pensacola. Once you cross over the bay, that's when groceries get a little bit more expensive. I don't know if it has anything to do with the trucks having to go across, you know, that extra travel or whatever, but we do have noticed that if you do cross the bay and like from Pensacola over, or like even if we're talking all the way down in Fort Walton Beach and all these places, it does get a little bit more expensive with those groceries when you cross over and get a little bit closer to the beach. So something to note, we are talking about Pensacola mainland. Might get a little bit more pricey crossing over.
The other thing too is we see Publix here in Florida a lot, and Publix is not the cheapest option when it comes to things. I would compare it to some of the other states, you know, more like a Natural Grocers or a Whole Foods kind of pricing. In comparison to say like Kroger or Walmart or things like that, you are going to see Publix kind of being on the higher end alongside with those, you know, Natural Grocers, Whole Foods kind of level of pricing. So I do think that because we see that everywhere in Florida, that typically will raise the price a little.
The next category we're going to be covering is housing. This is by far the biggest difference in regards to the cost of living of California over in Pensacola. So if we look at that overall cost basis, we are going to break into that median sales price a little bit after this. But first things first, let's go over to that overall pricing index on housing. And this also includes rentals. So just a quick note on that well too. I want to make sure I mention that this includes purchasing and then also renting a place down in Pensacola as compared to California. You're looking at over in San Diego, it's going to be a 278.4. So it's pretty pricey. I've been to San Diego though, and like San Diego's awesome. Like you guys have some great weather, which we will talk about later on in this video as well. San Diego's a great spot. Everyone wants to be there. What are we talking about? We're talking about over in LA. You're looking at a 302.8, so even more expensive than San Diego. LA, of course, is one of the top cities in the United States. A very popular place to live. Let's go ahead and break over into San Francisco. If you thought LA was expensive, San Francisco is a 504.4.
I've never seen that number, guys.
Yeah, that is
granted,
insane.
we've only done real estate in Colorado and Florida.
Yeah.
That is like mind-blowing. Even Boulder in Colorado or some of our major cities here have not come close to that.
Yeah, it's insane how expensive it is in San Francisco. So what are we looking at if we're talking about Pensacola? If we go down to Pensacola from California, you're looking at a 63. So that's, what is that? That's like almost a tenth of the price of San Francisco. Florida as a whole, you're looking at a 101.1. So Florida as a whole is right around the national average, right? Now let's break into those median sales prices, bringing it in a little bit more in context of what we're talking about, because we could throw you these cost of living index numbers all day long, but it's like, how much am I going to be paying for a house if moving down to Pensacola? If we're looking at San Diego, you got a median sales price of $860,000, okay? So San Diego, you're like, all right, you know, that's definitely, you know, it's high, but what are we looking at for going over to LA? If you're looking at LA, it's $1.3 million, that median sales price. These numbers are of September of 2023. Also, quick note on that, we are putting your attached and detached products lumped into one sum, so this is both your products. I'm sure that single family number is probably gonna be a lot more when we're talking about these numbers, but right now, we're gonna put your overall number in there. If we're going into San Francisco, you got a median sales price of $1.35 million, which I actually thought that was gonna be more higher than LA, you know, looking at those housing prices. I'm guessing that rents is what's really driving that cost of living index housing number up over in San Francisco, because that price point really isn't much higher in regards to median sales price over in San Francisco. Now, if we're looking at Pensacola, you got a median sales price of $302,000. A quick disclaimer on that. That is the mainland of Pensacola. Yes. If you are planning on going over into Pensacola Beach, that price point will rise up quite a bit. Yeah. I think it's right below, last time we checked, it's right below $1 million. So you're looking right in between $800,000 to $1 million, but you're talking about like on the water, awesome area and stuff like that. But if you're looking at the mainland, like downtown Pensacola, that $300,000 price point median sales price is a good figure to kind of look at. Obviously, people are moving down in Florida because of these income taxes, but if you're over in California, it's a graduated tax rate where, depending on your income, you're pretty much paying like between 1 and 13.3% in individual income tax. What are we looking at for talking about Florida?
Obviously, over in Florida, you're going to have a 0% personal income tax, which, I mean, I think there's other things that get made up in Florida, but this is something that we take a lot of pride in.
Yep, I agree. I mean, that's one of the, actually I'd say the minor reasons that we did move down here. We're like, man, we're going to be saving this much in state income tax. We came from Colorado, where I think it was like 5% or something right around there. It's like, that's 5%. We're not going to have to pay anymore, right? And so if you're looking at moving a business down here, what are you looking at with that corporate income tax? In California, you're looking at a corporate income tax of 8.84. This is a quick note as well, too. These are the statewide, right? You might have local municipalities who are tacking on top of these taxes. But yeah, your corporate income tax over in California is 8.84.
And if you're looking at the state over in Florida, it's going to be 5.5, so still almost 3% less than, say, California.
And then another one, here's your sales tax. What are you going to be paying when you're going out buying those products? Over in California, it's a 7.25%.
Over in Florida, you're going to be at 6, so still overall less.
And the last cost that's been hitting so many people so hard, believe me, every time on the news when we hear about this, California pops up as like the #1 spot. We're talking about those gas prices, guys, which suck right now. But what are we looking at? Your average, so I just looked this up. Right now we are, the second week of October of 2023. Your average gas prices right now over in California is $5.80. I don't think I've ever paid that much for gas. That is insane how much you guys are paying for gases over there.
Yeah, and over in Florida, you're going to see it at $3.46, which is significantly less. Now, I have to boast a little bit here. We switched over to electric, about a year ago?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And I kind of forgot about how big of a deal. I used to drive a Palisade, our mom car, and I used to pay and just so much money in gas, and I'm so glad I'm not paying California gas prices right now, let alone not even paying Florida because we went electric. But I just, oh my God, it blows my mind that it's up in the fives.
Now, I already know because I know a lot of our viewers, and like the whole electric car controversy and stuff like that. I have to say this all the time, guys. Like, we got a Tesla. I'm huge on Elon Musk. I think he's a true innovator of our time. I don't think I'd ever buy any other electric car, but Teslas are badass, and I love them. We still plan on getting.
They're fast.
Yeah, but we're still planning on getting a truck. You know, it's going to be gas, so I'm going to have to pay a little bit more attention to those gas prices.
People have an idea here in Florida when you drive an electric car. So if you are coming from California and you're bringing an electric car, prepare yourself for what that means. We're going to be talking about some of those things later.
Yep.
All right, that was a huge topic, obviously, on cost of living, but we wanted to give you the nitty-gritty because it's easy to say, hey, it's cheaper down here, but we wanted to show you exactly how much cheaper and compare that. But let's jump into that second topic, and that is going to be the beaches. I think we might get some darts on this just because people love their beaches, especially if they move somewhere for the beaches, but there is I don't even think this is quite the debate, really.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the biggest. I mean, obviously, we're talking about the entire state of California as compared to like one city or one area. We're talking about the Emerald Coast. And so, like, the Emerald Coast beaches are fantastic. The thing about them is they are small. My sister went to school out in California. My best friend, he lives down in San Diego in California. So I've had a lot of experience with California beaches. They're large, right? They're huge. It's like you guys' beaches seem like they span out forever. Pensacola, they do seem like they are a little bit smaller, but that doesn't mean that the quality of them is any less than they are in California. And one thing I wanted to talk about is we talked to someone who did move from California into the Emerald Coast. And here's one thing that he mentioned that I really can't speak to, but I'm just going to kind of bring it up, is they were talking about how in California, the beaches were like a place to visit, right? It's like, all right, let's go to the beach, let's go do our thing and stuff like that. In the Emerald Coast, it feels like the beach is more of a lifestyle. It is a part of you. It is just something that is like ingrained in your soul and everything. It's not something that you just visit all the time, right? And so, like I said, I really can't speak beyond that, but it was interesting to hear him say that, where I'm like, all right, I can kind of see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Even after school, like our friend group, our friend group now, like it is like, hey, we're after school, we're picking up the kids, we're taking them down in the water, and they're doing life down there. They're not always in the water. They're not always doing the things that you would do on vacation, but they'll be throwing a football down there, like you would a park. You know what I'm saying? Like if you didn't have the beach, they'd be throwing the football in the park. You'd throw in the football on the beach because that just becomes your everyday life. All right, now, since we feel like there's already been probably some darts coming our way, and maybe some hearts, darts and hearts, who are you? Show us down below. Comment, are you a dart or heart? Yeah. But I do have to talk about the fact that when we were in California, I was actually born in California, so I feel like I get to talk about these hard topics. But when we were down in California, it was kind of like a attitude type thing. Like everyone was like on a mission. There was like a lot of I guess kind of like coolness, like should I say, where you are just like, there are people like prime in their body working out, like just a lot of like attitude kind of feel. When you're down in the Emerald Coast, like it is like Southern charm. Like we had people stopping by, one of the kids got stung by a jellyfish that day, and both. And these people came out like, oh, hey, you doing all right? We're like, actually, do you know what you have to do for a catfish? I don't know if it's called a sting or whatever. We're still learning. Yep. And she goes, oh, yeah. And they came up. They actually ended up hanging out with us. Like, there is just like this friendly charm
Yeah.
of being on the Emerald Coast that
Yeah.
I never felt when I was in California.
Yeah, California, like I said, I mean, we never lived there, but every time we visit the beaches, it just seems cold, right? The people there just, it just seems cold. Everyone's to themselves.
Everyone's doing their own thing.
No one's
Yeah.
really kind of interacting with anyone. Like I said, I mean, that's just our exposure personally from it. Another thing that I did notice is your guys' sand is coarse in California.
Yeah,
The
and
sand,
rocky
yeah,
sometimes.
it's rocky.
Not always, but
And it's just, it doesn't seem that clean. Like, sorry, like, so probably getting daggers after this, but Pensacola and like all these other areas, fantastic.
Just
I've never,
gorgeous.
and guys, I'm not just saying it's just because of Florida, because we have a property down in Clearwater as well
Yeah.
too. I don't think their beaches are as nice. Like the beaches that are in the beaches, the beaches that are in the Emerald Coast are just amazing. You get that sugar sand, and it's just beautiful. It's gorgeous, and I don't think they're beatable. I mean, why do you think that Destin popped as hot as it did so recently? It's just like people see it's like, oh my gosh, what have I been missing my entire life? These beaches are amazing.
there's a reason it's called Emerald Coast. We do have that turquoise looking sand looking water because
Yeah.
of how white our sand is. The other thing is, yes, Peter's probably going to be like hitting me, nudging me because our sand is so fine and beautiful that it squeaks when you walk. So you'll be walking down, it's like, week, 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 week.
Yep.
And at first it was like, what? No, it doesn't. And then I got down there, he's like, yeah, does it? And he even made our son like go down there and show mama that sand squeaks. But
Yeah.
that just shows you how fine and beautiful that sand really is.
Yeah, and so like Chelsea already kind of mentioned the water. One thing that I did notice is your guys' water down in California is much colder. So I just looked at like your average yearly, right? And so the Pacific is like 67 degrees. Well, guess what? Up in the Emerald Coast, our average is like 81 degrees. So our water is so much warmer here. And then it's also super clear where it seems like it's a little bit darker over in the Pacific. Obviously, you guys are like straight on the ocean, right? We have the Gulf, and so there's a lot to say about that. That's why that we did choose the Gulf side as opposed to the Atlantic side in Florida. It just seems like the water here is gorgeous, it's clear, and it's just like super see-through. The only time you really can't see through it is like when it's windy out and you got waves, but if it's a calm day and you have like small waves, you can just like see all the way to the bottom when you go all the way out to the Pensacola Pier. It's fantastic, the water that we do have here in Pensacola.
All right, the third thing that we're going to be talking about is climate. And now, when Peter was looking this up to kind of see the main differences and all of that, I was actually surprised by how close it was when you're looking at the numbers.
Yeah, and so we're only going to be comparing this to one city. Two reasons. First one's being is this is the furthest south in California, so it's going to be further south. Pensacola is obviously further south from the United States. Another reason is San Diego is known in the United States as having the perfect weather, the perfect climate for anyone who wants to live there. And so I'm going to kind of go against that a little bit. I'm like, all right, let's compare to Pensacola, see what we're looking at when we're talking about humidity, average temperatures, and stuff like that. So let's go and break in there. If we're looking at San Diego, your year-round averages, we're talking about a lows of 59 degrees and then your highs of 71 degrees. So this is taking the entire year into consideration, putting all those numbers in one. If we look at Pensacola, it does get a little bit warmer in Pensacola. You're talking about lows of 60 and highs of 79. So a little bit warmer, but at the same time, it's like, it's not that bad. Like, so we came here thinking it was going to be like South Florida where we're constantly drenched, constantly like the heat's beating down on us. I honestly haven't noticed that big of a difference. It honestly hasn't been that bad living here though, whatsoever.
All right, let's talk about the thing that most people are like kind of intimidated by, and that's going to be the humidity. So if you're looking over in San Diego, overall the humidity is around 69%, where over in the Emerald Coast is going to be about 71. So again, not that different. When we look at North Florida to South Florida, we do see those humidity levels change quite a bit. But looking for and comparing the two, they're actually very similar. So if San Diego has the perfect weather and we get slightly warmer here, to me, I don't know. I think it's a no-brainer.
And another quick thing I want to add on the humidity that I was looking at, I should have wrote this down. It was just something I was kind of like browsing over while I was like looking at it. It seems like the fluctuation of humidity from morning to afternoon time in Pensacola does vary so much more than San Diego. So you might have, super high humidity in the morning, and in the afternoon it drops down 20 to 30%. So something I kind of saw where San Diego, I think it was only like maybe 15% difference on average. Just something, like I said, it's nothing scientific. I was just kind of browsing. As I was looking through the humidity, I was like, wow, there's a huge difference between humidity in the morning and afternoon in Pensacola as compared to San Diego. The fourth thing that we're going to be covering, this is also another concern of moving down in Florida, is hurricanes. So how many hurricanes has California had? Well, since they've been recording hurricanes, 0. You guys do get some tropical storms, or they call them something else down there, but obviously Pensacola does. They've actually had 8 major hurricanes since 1975. So you're talking about the Emerald Coast area. obviously, you know, the last biggest one was what, in 2000? Was it Ivan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then like Ian obviously was more South Florida and stuff like that. And this last one, we
didn't get it all.
Yeah, we didn't get it all whatsoever.
We were like praying for rain, really.
Yeah, we wanted rain. I know the surfers had an awesome time out there though, because
They did.
our waves.
Red flag.
Okay, so that's something I should have mentioned on the beaches. Obviously, you guys have so much better surfing over in California.
So much better surfing in California.
And so it's like we only get surfing like that on occasions, and then when we have a hurricane, it's not going to hit us. So.
Yeah, when it's a red flag, the surfers are in heaven, and
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be out there, but they are like, well, these are the best waves we get.
Yep.
So we're taking advantage of that.
Yep.
All right, if you stuck around this long, thank you. I'm hoping they're hearts and not darts coming from you. But we're actually going to be talking about the fifth thing, which is politics.
Yeah, it's just politics. It's California. I mean, I hate to say it, but they are doing a lot of things that are driving people out of there. We're talking about all the wokeness. We're talking about all the child transgender stuff and whatever.
And then also during COVID, how the
lockdowns. The lockdowns is actually what drove so many people to Florida because of how everyone liked the response that they had. It's like, you know, let's test this thing out or whatever. But it is what it is. Like, guys, I mean, I hate to say it, but California is hardcore progressive, hardcore to the left. It is driving a lot of people the wrong way. And so that's why they are coming down to Florida. This is a topic people don't talk about. And I don't agree with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I think they're trying to.
Yeah, we can sit here and try and pander to the viewers and be like, you know what, we're just not going to talk about it because we want to get as many people here as possible. But we need to be truthful with you. Is what we're seeing? Is people like, I am over it. I am done of just them kind of coming into my beliefs, my morals, and all that stuff, and just overriding them. And that's why we are getting a lot of people into the Emerald Coast moving from California.
Yeah, that's not even taking into consideration also the schools and how it's affecting the kids. I mean, us too, right? Like, we came because we wanted to be able to take part in some of the public school system. We were paying for private school. I know a lot of people in California are also paying for some private school. And being able to come over to the Emerald Coast and have some of the best schools and not having to pay or add that into the cost of living and all the things. And then also know that they can kind of be rest assured when their kids go to school that those things, you know, they're focusing on school and not some of those social matters.
I mean, the basis about it is that's why Florida got the term, you know, the free state of Florida, is there's just like believe more in traditional values down here and then just letting you be a true free American. And it's like, it's become a breath of fresh air. We came from somewhere that was progressive, not as progressive as California. Actually, back there, we had a lot of people moving to California into Colorado because it was like progressive light, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. We broke it down. We got into that uncomfortable spot, brought the elephant into the room, and we just shredded it apart, right? We're going to sit there and give you everything that we personally believe, what we are seeing, why people are moving here from California.
All right, we have given you lots of information. If you are liking this content and you want to poke around a little more, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and also hit that notification bell so you're notified every single time we put out a new video.
And of course, guys, if you are looking to purchase some real estate in the Emerald Coast, give us a call or text the phone number right below. Right below right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time. Until next time, we love you. Bye.
Bye.